I think Oscar Wilde's got a quote, which is the US and the UK are two countries divided by the same language.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're so similar but so different. What have you learned about the differences between UK and Oz? And then what do you think some of the challenges are with potentially getting to the US?
I'll tell you straight out why we're in the UK and not the US.
Yes.
From a technology perspective, just to start with, we've built a lot of conviction around our tap to pay card. And
Not there, is it?
it's not there at all restaurants. And it's getting better. And I think probably 18 months and we'll be able to move EatClub into the US as well. But right now, there is literally a hard technology barrier, which is we think we've created one of the best experiences that we can for this type of business, and it's really a big part of our success. We straight up can't do that at most restaurants in New York even.
Yeah.
It's quite phenomenal. And the whole tipping process and pulling...
Well, yeah, because how does that come into it? Because the tipping process over there is mental.
Yeah.
Like, so I went to New York a couple of years ago, and I was sort of, again, flabbergasted by the fact that I couldn't do that, Apple Pay.
Yeah.
But how would that work with you guys?
Yeah, exactly through the method that we talked about. We read tips on point of sale.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then if it's the cash
straight
thing,
through to the restaurant. You can pay. It doesn't. If you pay cash tips, you pay cash tips.
Okay,
That's outside of our system, and we don't see that at all.
But
you can.
What is the actual? Because I don't really know specifically. What is the situation there? They don't pay a service charge.
In the US, particularly,
Yeah.
In the US, you've got what's technically compulsory, as compulsory as it gets. Because if you refuse to pay your tip, I don't know what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
You play. You're walking
Walk down the
with
streets
fire.
Yeah.
When I lived in the US for a period of time.
Sick. Whereabouts?
In New York.
Oh, nice.
And when I first went to New York on a holiday when I was 21, tipping was 12%, and they were talking about it becoming 15% while I was there. This was what the discussion was, and it's wherever you go, all the prices are listed ex-tax, not excluding tax. So if something's $20 on the menu, you've got to add your just under 10%, whatever their GST is. It's like 9, I think it's 9 point whatever. It's not quite 10%, so it's complicated. You've got to add that on top, and then your tip on top of that. So it ends up pretty much every price that you look at, it's plus tax, plus tip. When I was living there, the tip was 18%, and it's just moved. It moved while I was there to about 20%. I did hear recently someone saying it's like 22, 25. Like it's becoming a lot. So if you can imagine, you look at a menu price in the US, you're adding your 10% tax and 20% tip. Everything is 30% more than what the menu says to start with. It's quite hard to get your head around.
Yeah, the US, I know it's weird because they're so forward thinking. Like, I mean, one of them, Silicon Valley, but they're so backward in some things. Like the airports, I think, are crap. I don't understand
All
it.
of them, yeah.
The airports, how can you basically create an iPhone, yet you can't create some sort of system to get people through the airport? It's wild.
It's easy to rag on the US. I do, for so many reasons, think it's an amazing place. But while I lived there, I did get this feeling that everything that they export is extremely forward thinking, all the products, all the technologies. But then it's like what they get to use internally is like all the crap that they couldn't sell somewhere else. Like it barely works.
That's such an interesting...
It really feels like that.
Yeah. And then talk to me about the difference between, or the nuances between Melbourne and London, and what have been, again, 2D map, 3D terrain.
So first of all, fortunately, even more similar than what we thought. It seemed similar, but normally you're like, oh, we're going to get there and we're going to get thrown by a few things. But I'll tell you that they're quite trivial, but smaller nuances that are different in the management of the business between the two. So the first is the difference between how many purely independent restaurant owners in Australia. A lot of people have one restaurant. In London particularly, home of the small groups. I think you even might call them chains here, but we'd call them like a small group of restaurants.
Like a distributing caravan.
4 to 10 restaurants. Sometimes the same brand name, sometimes not. They're different brands, but a lot of people are in either on their own or in some kind of syndicate with a small group of venues. That's quite a big change. And so it means in Australia, you're really dealing one-to-one, and it can be a very quick and easy process to sell because you're dealing with a single decision maker who knows what he wants for his restaurant and gets it. Slightly longer sell in the UK, just naturally, because you're dealing with more decision makers. But often it
Once you get
means
them, yeah.
you've got 3 or 4 or 5 venues instead of
Wow.
one venue at a time. So that's an interesting thing.
Why do you reckon there's not many? That really surprised me. Why do you reckon that is?
Why? I think maybe it's maybe more accessible. It's maybe less barriers to entry in Australia to get a restaurant started. London rents are probably significantly higher than lots of the places in Australia, I suspect. But it's quite stark. Like, and even a restaurant that looks like a real pure independent restaurant in London, you walk in and it's like, oh yeah, I got 8 more down the road, you know? You wouldn't know.
That's so interesting. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Here's a really trivial one. This is just, I mean, maybe interesting to people that are looking to start selling something to restaurants or building a platform in the restaurant space. Australia is very much a cold call to get a meeting. In the UK, I mean, we find that restaurants aren't even answering their landlines during service. Like, it is much harder to contact anyone via the phones. I suspect Australia is still a small place. I think there's less spam calls and stuff like that. But
I worked for that peanut butter company.
Yeah,
that peanut butter startup.
yeah.
So I was selling it into Ireland.
Yep.
A retailer called Ireland. When you're dealing with the big retailers over here, they don't want to do a face-to-face negotiation because it gives them more time to almost plan what they're going to say and then go back.
Yeah.
So I was taking that tact with this bloke in Ireland, and he would just say, "Call me," and it was like very much that was and I was like, "That's so much better because you can actually pick up the nuance of emotion and like how they're actually feeling." Like, because on an email it could be so pissy. Like, I wish our culture was more like that.
Yeah. Interesting that it's across not just hospitality as well. You just don't want to pick up the phone.
Yeah, just don't want to pick up the phone. It's weird. And it's like you could make... That's another thing I think restaurants, or not just restaurants, but just businesses in general could make way more money if they just had an old school sales line.
Yeah. Well, that's our view on it is. It's like, it's not dead. It's not like there is still room for that sort of direct selling, but it's just slightly different. Yeah. So our people have to often go in and then establish a relationship face to face to get it started.
You know what's absolutely mental, mate? London is literally the greatest foodie city in the world with so many absolutely banging, delish restaurants opening on the reg. I absolutely love it. But look, let's get real. There's lots of times where tables are still sat empty, when your favourite spot is silently struggling. And look, every single table counts. Everyone needs solutions, and they need solutions very fast. And that, my friends, is where EatClub comes in. EatClub is a profitability tool created by hospitality insiders, including the absolute Don, Marco Pierre White. EatClub gives top bars and restaurants control of a new stream of quality paying customers to fill those quiet times. No faff, no upfront costs, only upside. Look, if you're in hospitality and you want bums on seats when you need them most, please drop the founder Pan or the VP of the UK, Liz, both absolute legends. Drop them an email, filmmytables@eatclub.co.uk, filmmytables@eatclub.co.uk. That will get you straight through to them and they can help. Please, let's turn those empty tables into profit.